And I'm doing my first affirmative rebuttal against Meldred's negative construct. So these are the key points that I'm going to be talking about from what Meldred talked about. So I'm going to be talking about how she was wrong in saying that the ESEA Act is the same as the No Child Left Behind law. Talking about how she said that testing is invalid and unnecessary for students to prove that they're ready for the next course. I'm also going to talk about how she claims that students who excel in school but are not being provided the correct funding or needs they need because the schools districts are suffering, so they're not receiving anything. And then I'm also going to be talking about how she says that the districts are the ones that would be distributing the funding. So let's start off with the first key point where Mildred talks about how the No Child Left Behind law is the same as the ESEA Act. The ESEA Act is nothing like the No Child Left Behind law. The No Child Left Behind law is only a performance-based funding, so whatever district or whatever school system gets the highest test scores, they would receive more funding. So in terms of ones who don't do as well, won't receive any funding. So what the ESEA Act, not only besides still keeping the funding in terms of performance based, because we're not going to reward schools that are doing well in testing by not funding them, but in return for those schools that are not doing well in terms of testing or other circumstances, the ESEA Act will provide workshops, skill workshops for teachers to teach better, changing the curriculum, and basically providing better tools for students to apply their learning a lot better. My second point is when Mildred talks about how testing is invalid. How is testing invalid? Testing is the only way we can understand if a student is ready to go on to the next level of education. If we don't have that, how can we prove that a student is ready to move on to the next curriculum or to the next level um, of school? And then my third point is where Mildred starts talking about how students that excel in schools, but because the school doesn't do well in terms of testing, they're being deprived from funding. So this is another thing that I'm getting at, how the ESEA is fixing all of this. The ESEA is, like I said, providing workshops for teachers to learn better skills and to teach their schools. It's meant to change the curriculum of how districts run uh, their learning methods, so these students that excel in school will be provided with better tools, so they can in turn receive funding, because the workshops that they would be given would allow them to perform better, not as just one as a student, but all of them together as a whole. So that's that point. And then for my third point, too, where she talks about that the districts don't have anything to do with distributing the funding, and they don't, because she was saying that they do have a part in distributing, and how they don't distribute it accordingly to which school deserves it the most. This is going to be a federal government a distribution, so this is run by the government itself. So they are going to tally the test scores. They're going to understand which schools will be provided with the funding, which schools will be given in terms of the workshops and the skills. So in everything that Mildred was saying, she was just trying to relate the EACX to the No Child Left Behind law, and how the No Child Left Behind law is exactly the same thing as the ESCA. I mean, how does something that provide skills and workshops to schools that are not doing well, it's in performance-based funding, uh, deprive them from anything? If anything, this is giving them the opportunity to better equip themselves for the testing, to prove that they do need the funding, and they're willing to go there. Because as it is right now, the No Child Left Behind law isn't doing it is basically putting a halt to every system. It's kind of like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer system. So if the No Child Left Behind law stays and the ESCA Act does not pass, then we're just looking at that sort of mentality through the most through time goes on. So another thing that I do want to say, and I want you to vote for the ESCA Act, is because for this same reason, that we don't want the rich to get richer and we don't want the poor to get poorer. We want to even the field. So if we give these schools the right tools they need to succeed, they will have a better understanding and a better way to succeed and have a chance to get that funding that they need, that funding that will help them get new books, get them new equipment like computers, laptops, stuff that will help them in terms uh, many things that can help these students get back on track, and even if they are good on track, helping them with more career-based skills that they would need to go on to college with. And that is my first affirmative rebuttal. Thank you.